Hello, 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 and welcome back to Believe in Lions. That's BLEAV in Lions, right here on the Believe Network. I'm your host, as always, at Javanaugh87, Jack Kavanaugh, joined by the always magical, the always fantastic, the all pro safety, Glover Quinn.
What's up?
Not too much, just enjoying the anticipation of the week, thinking there's always hope throughout the week. And then Sundays, sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. But for now, I'm happy. I'm hopeful. We've got the sunglasses on until the Lions embarrass me so much I take them off. It's good. It's all good.
Hey, man, it was just another week, man. It's another week, another opportunity, man, to be great, or it's another opportunity, like you said, to be upset. And hopefully this week, the Lions don't upset us.
Hopefully, because there are a lot of upset fans out there to the point that Sheila Firestone Ford Hamp, she had to come out and talk to reporters, and it was only for 4, 5, 6 minutes, but she had to put out the statement that we believe that we've got the right people in place. This was a teardown from the beginning. It's a rebuild now. It's going to take time. And so historically, Lions ownership hasn't always come down to give those speeches and to talk to the media like that. But at the same time, the last time that happened, it was one final confidence in Matt Patricia. And we all know how that worked out. So, how are you feeling after Sheila came down, talked to reporters, and also had to deliver a vote of confidence?
I mean, that's standard, I guess. When I was there, honestly, I saw the Fords a lot when I was there. When Coach Caldwell was there, I mean, they came around a lot.
Okay.
Um, so But just think about how cool, first of all, think about how cool and fortunate you have to be for your name to be Sheila Firestone Ford. Like, we all know where Firestone come from, right? Like,
Yeah.
those are the tires. So you married somebody that was the tires and you're the Fords. Like, yikes. Um, but yeah, that's just one of those things, right? You come down, you and because you know that the record isn't what um everybody anticipated, everybody expected, everybody wanted. And I think it's kind of one of those things where you come out and you say it's a rebuild. Yeah, you're gonna say that when we're 1-5, right? Was it a rebuild the whole time? Could have been, but you still want to win in the process of the rebuild, right? So now that you're not winning, now you got to justify why you're not gonna fire Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes, right? It's just one of those things where you can't always run and fire somebody. Sometimes you have to stick it out. And it may not be popular to the fans. It may not be what they want, what they expect, because everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to be considered relevant. Everybody wants these different things. But at the end of the day, if you're turning down to rebuild it, well, then it's gonna take some time. You're gonna have to take some time to get the right pieces in there. And if you feel like you got the right people, you just got to stick it out, and hopefully you can get some wins on the way to the rebuild, because it's going to be very difficult to justify. You won 3 games last year and they all came at the end of the season, and now you're off to an amazing 1-5 start. And with injuries and just things going on, I don't see a win in the near future. All right. So it's very difficult to continue to say these things, and you look up and you've played 3 seasons and you've won 5 games, or 6 games. It's kind of hard to just be like, well, we're still rebuilding. The fans don't want to hear that. They don't want to hear that, because they want to see winners. So it's good she came down and talked and kind of put that out there. But at the end of the day, I mean, what does it change? doesn't change anything. They're still going to call for his head if he's not winning. They're still going, they're still going to want to see something done. If they're not winning, they're not going to be happy. They're not going to want to come to the game. They're like, it's going to be like winning solves it all. Whether you can say what you want to say, winning is going to solve it all, because they're going to say, all right, well, Sheila, if this is what we're going to do, lower the ticket prices then. Like, don't make us pay top dollar for the tickets when you're rebuilding. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, lower the ticket prices so that
Yeah.
we can still come to the game, but we're not expecting to pay what it would cost us to go and see. You know what I'm saying? It'd be stuff like that where it's just like, we want to see winners. And, like I said, you're glad she comes out and she says something. And she's a sweetie, you know. But at the end of the day, fans want to see a winner. And, if they feel like Dan's the right guy and Brad's the right guy, well, then, yeah, the fans want to stick by him too, but they also want to see wins as well.
And I think there's just so many different things that are coming to a head with Sheila having to give this statement, this little speech. Part of it is we got overexcited with Hard Knocks. Before Hard Knocks, we were pretty reasonable expectations. It was, we're hoping for an improvement, gradual improvement. That's what we want to see. And then Hard Knocks happened and just everyone gets excited. The national media starts talking about the Lions as a sleeper team, when the reality is, at this point, we were clearly not that close to being a sleeper team. Also, Lions didn't have the best cap heading into this season because of previous contracts that they're still shedding from old regimes, still paying money to former players. But I think with Dan Campbell, this will be his second year. You gave Matt Patricia 3 years. And part of that, too, was a lot of fans wanted Matt Patricia out after that second year. They were done with him. And it was still Martha at the time. Sheila was starting to come into her ownership role. But at the time, it was, hey, we know what's happening right now, and we're not impressed with it either. And we empathize and understand why you want to fire Matt Patricia, but we want to see this through. And so we're going to give him one more chance. And I think people want to make that comparison, Patricia to Dan Campbell, far too often. When Patricia was hired under the premise that 9-7 isn't good enough, and Campbell was hired to build a new culture for the team. So I think fans are really just looking at two sets of numbers and saying, well, he's worse than Patricia. This is awful.
Yeah, I think exactly what you're saying. They were hired for different reasons.
Yeah.
Patricia, like you said, he was hired because they said 9-7 wasn't good enough. He had a good roster, had good quarterbacks, good wide receivers, good runners, good O-line. They got better. D-line. He had a solid roster. What Dan Campbell has been brought in to do is to fix the firestorm. So the roster isn't the same as what Matt Patricia inherited. So it's totally different. When you've been used to winning 9 games, you're expecting the coach to come in and get you to 10 or 11, not turn 9 into 3, right? But when you've been used to winning 3 games, you feel like, all right, we need to rebuild. So it may be some time before we can win 9 games again, because it's going to take time for us to get rid of a lot of those players and bring in some of our new players and build our system and do all these different things. So it's a different premise. Yes, the record is what it is. But at the end of the day, Dan Campbell came into a worse situation than Matt Patricia did, right? You look at what Coach Caldwell did. He came in behind Jim Schwartz, right? And the thing that we had in 2000, at least my first year here, 2013. So Coach Caldwell came in and took that same roster, added a couple pieces, and we won 10 games the next year. Made the playoffs, right? That's the difference. How do you come in as Matt Patricia and take a roster that's been winning 9 games consistently, been, fighting to get in the playoffs consistently, and then you only can win 3 games. That's tough. For Dan Campbell, he brought some excitement back to something that was super low in excitement. Like, nobody was excited with the Lions following the Matt Patricia. Like, nobody was excited. So Dan Campbell reignited some excitement. It's just going to take some time for him to get the roster right to get some wins, because you guys got to, you see, guys got to stay healthy. So what that means is you got to have depth, because you're going to get injured in the NFL. So that's when you talk about constructed. It's not about getting a star player. Yeah, you got to have good players, but you got to have a multitude of good players behind the good players, so that when one guy goes down, there's other guys that can step up. When one guy's not having a great game, another guy can have a great game, and you can still find ways to win. But we put so much pressure on DeAndre Swift, Amon-Ra St. Brown. When those guys don't play, it's very difficult for them to win. Right? It's very difficult for them to win. Whereas you got to look at some of these teams that can find ways to win without their star wide receiver or without their star running back. You have to be able to find ways to win those games. So you got to take time to build that roster.
Exactly. And we can see that slowly happening, right? Because the offensive line, we've lost multiple starters for multiple games, and it's just kept clicking through. We've built up the depth there, but we don't have the depth in the secondary. We don't have the depth on the defensive line, the linebackers. And we thought we had depth at wide receiver, but then Jamison Williams doesn't come back as quick as some people had hoped. DJ Chark and Amon-Ra St. Brown missed time together. So it just makes sense, right? Those star pieces, in my opinion, those are what take a good team, a solid team, to greatness. When you land a Von Miller as the Buffalo Bills, you go from a really, really strong roster to now having that guy that can win the game for you.
Right.
But if Von Miller's on the Broncos like he was last year, he can't win that many games for you because the team's not good enough. And so I am with you. The Lions just have to keep building. And I know people want to make sweeping changes, but I think that's just a reactionary move to being unhappy based on preseason expectations, which were unrealistic, as we've come to find out.
Like I said, I think they were realistic for the Lions fans, but like I say, when you look at things on a national level, so I said this way back when we first started doing this, right? When you look at the team from a national standpoint, when you get outside of your bubble, when you look at the team from a national standpoint, I was saying the same. Who's going to be the playmaker on defense? Who are the superstars, right? Who am I buying tickets to go and see? That's the name of the game, right? It's entertainment. It's high level football. Who am I buying tickets for? Am I buying tickets to go see Jared Goff? Am I buying tickets to go see who? Who am I buying tickets to go and see? That's the thing, right? When you think about Detroit Lions, who are the playmakers, right? When you look at but we're not the only team. When you look at the team like the Patriots, who are the guys? They don't. You look at their wide receivers. You don't know any of those guys from a national standpoint. Yeah, if you're into football, you may know Devontae Parker, but freaking like who? You see what I'm saying? So I always felt that way about the Lions. Yeah, the hype was there, but I was always skeptical about who's going to be our playmakers, because at the end of the day, it's a playmaking league and everybody is good. So if you got teams that got stars and they got good players, 9 times out of 10, they're going to win in the long run over a team that just got some good players, but they don't have any stars. They don't have anybody that can just take over a game. Like you say, Von Miller goes to Buffalo. So you put a good player on a really good team. So now Von Miller isn't expected to go and play and win the game for 4 quarters. But he is expected when he get in there in the fourth quarter to end the game. Sacks, pressures, out, and we see it week in and week out. Von Miller is coming through in the clutch and making big plays. That's because he has great players around him that they can do things a majority of the game. And then when you forget about Von, he makes plays. But if you put Von, like you said, on a team where he has to be the focal point, play in, play out, fighting the double teams, doing all these different things, he's not going to have the same impact.
And I feel as though there are two Lions that are in that conversation on the entire team where you can say they can take over a game. And it's
Right.
Swift and it's St. Brown. But even
Mm-hmm.
then, St. Brown's still young. He's still learning. And then he goes down with the ankle. And
Right.
then DeAndre Swift, he is electric. He's not quite a veteran. He's still young, but he's proven, hey, I can take over a game single-handedly. And then he gets multiple injuries. And so I'm starting to wonder because they're not rushing Jamison Williams back. They've said he's not going to be back to practice for at least another month. They're hopeful he'll play this season. So they're being very cautious with him, even with the injuries at wide receiver. They've been cautious with DJ Chark, who we thought was just a low ankle sprain. Maybe he misses a week, maybe two. Now he's on IR. That's going to be at least 6 games he misses. Romeo Okwara hasn't come back to the field yet from the Achilles. So with the Lions being extra conservative with all these players and their injuries, do you think that's because they're a team that's not winning? Or do you think that this is just who the Lions are, that they're going to take care of their players coming off of injury, rehabbing, and make sure that there is no shot of re-aggravating anything?
Well, I think at this point it's a win-win or it's a both from both. It doesn't really matter either way, however you look at it, because of the situation that the Lions are in and because of how the situation could be. Because if those guys were injured and you were still winning games, there's no need to rush them back, right? Because you've got a good enough team that you can continue to win games while those guys get completely healthy, because we know we're going to need those guys down the stretch, right? But we are not winning games. And now those guys are injured. And when you look at the magnitude of the injuries and you look at where we are as a team, if we were a team that was 4-4 right now, or 3-3 right now, or 4-3, kind of right there in that middle, we'd probably be looking at different scenarios with these guys, just because you're in the mix, right? You're in the mix to be able to make something happen. We just got to get guys healthy. Yeah, we don't want to rush you back before you're completely healthy, but we're in the mix and we can make a run. Right now, you're not in the mix, you're out of the mix, right? So when you look at Jamison Williams, I mean, they've already played what, 5? They played 6 games, 7 games. This is what, week 8 right now? Week 7?
Week eight, we've played 6 games because of the
Right.
bye.
So this is week 8. If he's not practicing for another month, that means he's not practicing until December, right? End of November, December is when he first started practicing. At that point, I mean, just say the Lions go 2-2 the next month. They're going to be 3-7, right? They're not going to be in the playoff run. What's the point of putting him out there in mid-December to play 2 or 3 games when he can just take this whole year to just get completely healthy, take the whole offseason, get completely healthy, and just start fresh next year? Now, what's going on with DJ Chark and those guys? I don't know. Romeo, I mean, they paid Romeo to be there. Like you're not giving us anything being hurt. And I don't know what's going on with Romeo. So it's hard for me to whatever. But I do feel like when you look at some of these teams, especially if I'm a coach and I know that the owners have given me time to rebuild, they've given me a year. Well, then yes, health is going to be your best friend. So rushing Romeo back in a situation like this just to try to get you 2 or 3 wins in this type of season is not worth him being completely healthy and helping you get 8, 9 wins in next season. It's just the fans aren't going to like it. People aren't going to like it. But you got to be able to see the bigger picture if that's what we're really trying to do.
And that's what I've started wondering as the season's gone on, because Achilles tears are different. We can't just assume, well, Jeff Okuda came back early. Romeo should too. No, that's not fair. That's not how injuries work. And at first it sounded, oh, maybe he could come back end of October, Romeo Aquara. Now I'm starting to wonder if we see him at all, if we see Jamison Williams at all. But we've talked about the management side, how you want to protect your players, you want to gear up for next year. What about the player side of it? Because you're a competitor, you want to be out there. So if you're Jamison Williams, if you're Romeo Aquara, if you are healthy enough, but even with 2-3 games left, is there any way that you can force your way onto the field, or how does that dynamic work?
I mean, I think as a player you want to play, and
Of
if you feel like
course.
you're healthy enough, then of course you want to get out there and play. I think as a coach and as a player, sometimes you gotta protect yourself from you,
Yeah.
right? So yes, Jameson, I know you want to get out there, but at the end of the day, what's 2 games gonna do for you this year other than put you in a situation where you can get hurt again at the end of the season, right? I mean, ACLs for skill guys, Achilles for anybody, but especially pass rushers, guys that are pushing off all the time, having to have that base, that anchor to be strong to fight huge O linemen and make moves and cut like those body parts are very, 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 very important. And for them to be completely healthy is good. It's gonna give you a better chance to play better. So I think, like I said, if you're not in the midst to make a playoff run and you're secure as a coach, if you're not secure as a coach, then you trying to get every win you can get. Hey man, I don't care if you can play one game. I need that one win. That might keep me here, right? But if you feel secure as a coach already that hey, we're gonna be back next year, well then you get later in the year, you're gonna hold that guy out. No point of coming back and risking hurting it again when I can just get you out the season and let you start fresh. The only problem is when you come talk about players, especially for Romeo and guys like that, you're not getting any younger though. So yeah, you
Yeah.
might have, you didn't play this year from a physical standpoint. You didn't take the legs and you heal, but you still got older. So you went from, I don't know how old he is either, but you go from 30 to 31, that's a difference. You go from 33 to 34, that's a difference, right? For Jameson, don't really matter. You go from 21 to 22 or 22 to 23. That stuff doesn't really matter. But for Romeo, who's been in the league for a few years, you still lost a whole year. So that plays a little bit into it.
And it's interesting to see how teams handle different injuries now, how some coaches are more conservative than others. And the Miami Dolphins seem as though they're going to be one of those conservative teams going forward after the Tua Tagovailoa concussion situation, which was terrifying. Tua's back, and the Dolphins did a great job of protecting him. Offensive line didn't allow him to get touched once. He was barely under pressure. Dolphins took care of Tua. Tua, on the other hand,
Tua
does
didn't take
not.
care of Tua.
Tua does not take care of Tua. Tua's lower in the shoulder. He's diving for the first down, and I you're conflicted because you love to see the dog in the players. You love to see them fighting for every inch, but Tua, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's like I said, as a fan, as a player, I'm sure as a family, you cringe every time you see him going and doing that, right? But as a player, you know, your body, man. And you just playing. You can't go out there playing fearful. You can't go out there playing halfway. If you're gonna play, you got to go and play. Yeah, you want to do things to protect yourself, but I think he's just trying to win football games, and he don't have a problem putting his body on the line. He don't have a problem, risking himself. You want to be smarter too. It's a business. They need you out there. They haven't won a game without you, and they haven't lost one with you. So they need you out there. But when you out there playing the game, man, sometimes things just happen, and that was kind of nerve wracking, but also funny at the same time to see Tua trying to drop the boom on a couple guys.
It was much funnier once he got up and you knew he was okay. But like you said, it's just one of those in the moment things. Coaches will harp on players, don't leave the ground, don't hurdle, you're going to get hurt. Don't extend the ball, don't extend the ball, you're going to fumble. And then in the heat of the moment, you do it. And if it works out, everyone forgets about it anyways. But with the Lions facing Tua, because he's not a rusher, he has only run 8 times this year, but we've seen how mobile he is. Tua's number one strength, though, is his accuracy. He is pinpoint. He is number 3 in deep accuracy. He leads the NFL in yards per attempt. So, is this just the same conversation we have week after week where how are the Lions going to contain Tua and slow this defense or slow this offense down?
Yeah, I mean, it's same thing. It's the NFL. There's good players week in and week out. Every week you're playing somebody. And so Tua, I mean, he's number 3 in deep accuracy.
Yeah.
Like, and he got guys that can go and get it, you know. They're playing a healthy wide receiver core. Tyreek Hill's gonna be there. Jalen Waddle's gonna be there. Like, those guys can run. They can go and get the ball. And so it's gonna be another tough week for the Lions. It just is. You know, they've been playing well, um, somewhat last week, but this is a different type of offense, different type of guys. You know, if you ever if you ever needed Aiden, you're gonna need him this week. But we're saying it every week. You know, we're saying it every week. The thing that, like I said, when you know you're playing these guys, you know the ball's gonna be up in the air. So as a safety, you're gonna have opportunities to make plays. You just got to make them.
You do. And against this offense, which I think is probably the fastest in the NFL, because Tyreek Hill might be the fastest player in the NFL. Jalen Waddle is right in line with him. And then Raheem Mostert has broken back out as one of the fastest running backs in the league. And
Hmm.
it's just super interesting to watch this offense play with Tua because he's got the pinpoint accuracy. He can hit you deep, but they haven't done that as much as you would think having Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Instead, they're doing a lot of shorter passes and letting Hill and Waddle run after the catch, which absolutely terrifies me based on the way the Lions have tackled this season.
Right.
Except
That's
for
one of those
Akuda.
things.
Except for Akuda.
Akuda has tackled well. The thing is, you know, when you get those guys that are really fast, right? Sometimes you tend to play off of them as a defensive back because you want to prevent them from running past you. You want to prevent them from being able to throw the ball 60, 70 yards in the air and scoring touchdowns. So when you play back off of them, then they're going to throw the ball short. So then when you have dynamic runners, you can throw the ball short and they can take a 5-yard gain and turn it into a 60, 70, sometimes take it all the way to the house. So that's what you see. So it's kind of pick your poison, right? When you start getting up on those guys, then now they want to take shots deep. So you got to be, you know, if you're going to force them to throw it underneath, you got to commit to being great tacklers of the football. Everybody has to be committed to it because tackling like this in the NFL is very difficult. And, you know, being able to tackle these great runners in space is hard. It's hard. And it's not a one person thing. It's going to take everybody. And so everybody got to be committed to getting these guys down if they catch the ball.
They really, really do because this offense is just one cut and every player, it seems like they're kind of gone. Have you ever
Yeah.
faced an offense with this type of speed? Because I know you've talked about Deshaun Jackson being one of the fastest you've faced. He and
Right.
Tyreek seem to have similar skills, but as Marlon Humphrey would say from the Ravens, Tyreek Hill is built like a thumb. He is just thick.
Right. I mean, those guys are fast. Those guys are fast, and Tyreek Hill is fast. He's tough. He's a strong runner. He's not a big guy, but like you say, when you're short like that, when you're compact like that, and you got muscle, those guys are tough tackle. He's a running back type body in the wide receiver, what I'm saying, role. So, have I ever played against somebody offense like that type of speed? I don't know, man. I mean, I played in a lot of games. I can't remember have I played against fast guys? Of course. You play against fast guys week in, week out. Do you play against the fastest guy in the league every week? No. But all these guys are fast. You know what I'm saying? 4.3 is very fast. 4.2 is unreal fast. but just offenses that know how to operate and move quickly, and guys that maybe play faster than they really are. Like, these offenses are prolific. They do all types of things. So have I played against some of that stuff? Of course, and they're difficult, right? Um, so hopefully the Lions understand the type of game, the type of speed, and they can find ways to slow them down from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint. You slow the game down, just different things they can do. But I don't think they want to get in a shootout with those guys.
No, that's going to be tough. A shootout versus a team of that caliber with a quarterback like that, certainly tough. And with the Lions facing Tua this week, because there was the big debate a couple years ago. Do the Lions take a quarterback? Should they take Tua Tagovailoa at 3? Should they take Justin Herbert at 3? Instead, they go with Jeff Okudah. And I'm just wondering, is that something that anyone on the Lions is thinking about other than maybe Jeff Okudah?
Nah,
Because it's a
I
new
don't think it.
franchise, right? They're not
Yeah,
thinking
they're
this.
not. They're not thinking about that. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't think so.
Yeah. Maybe Akuda just wants to show up the guy drafted later than him to say, hey, I deserve to be here. But
Right.
that's the
Oh,
exact answer I expected.
so hopefully Okuda goes out and get a couple interceptions this week.
Oh, can you imagine? That would be fantastic. Coming off one of the best run defense games by a corner ever, coming in and getting a couple of picks, that would be great. As for the Lions offense versus the Dolphins defense, this is going to be interesting because as tricky as the Dolphins offense is, their defense is one of the weirder, more confusing, harder to plan against in the NFL. We've seen them fluster quarterbacks from Kenny Pickett on Sunday night to Lamar Jackson when they were doing the all-out blitzes, and it seems as though it's a different game plan every week based on the quarterback that they're going to be facing. So, what should we be thinking about this Lions team? Are we worried about Goff against a defense like this?
I think, like I said, I think a lot of it has to do with the respect that guys give to the Detroit Lions. You know what I'm saying? You know that they can put up points in certain situations when they have their guys. But if I'm coming in as a defense, it's like, okay, we don't want to let these guys get going. We don't want to give these guys any hope, right? Hey man, if they don't have this guy or that guy, we know we have Xavier Howard, who is a lockdown corner. We got these guys. We got, you know what? Hey, let's go put some pressure on these guys. Let's go all out blitz them. Let's go see if they can, we shut down the run game and this and that and force them to throw the ball to our best corner and see if they can handle the pressure. Right. So sometimes you get those game plans. Um, and depending on who the Lions have healthy, who's out there playing, I wouldn't be surprised if you see something like that because you can't sit back and let them stay in the game because we all know it's the NFL, right? Anybody can beat you any given day. So if I'm going on the road, I think the Lions are at home this week, right? They've been on the road.
Are
No, they
they?
may be on the road.
They
They're in
might be.
Miami.
I think they might be in Miami, actually.
Yeah, I think they're in Miami because they had to buy and then they had 2 away games, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now they're coming into your house. You're definitely gonna have that mentality of we're
Oh,
not
they
gonna
are
let
at
these.
home. Okay.
They're at home.
Yeah, Lions are
Okay.
home.
So then they're coming into your house and they're gonna try to make you feel like, okay, we gotta come bring the pain to you guys. I wouldn't be surprised if they're all out blitzing early in the game because of them having Xavier Howard to match up with any of the Lions wide receivers and just to put the pressure on those guys and not give them a chance and hopefully, you can come out and score a couple points offensively and then get them flustered, you know, and put the game away in the first quarter is kind of what you would want to do. And hopefully the Lions are ready for that.
Hopefully they are, because Jared Goff, when he faces immense pressure, it can be one of the tougher scenes as a quarterback. Talking about a team that is generating immense pressure and getting even stronger. Philadelphia Eagles send a 4th-round pick to the Chicago Bears for Robert Quinn. Quinn, who had 18 and a half sacks last year. Just absurd. That is a team that is all in on a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think, shout out to my cousin. Robert Quinn's actually my cousin.
Really?
Yeah. Shout out to him, man. He's been doing it for a long time, and now he just got traded from a awful team in Chicago. I love Alan Williams, who's the D coordinator. That's my whole defensive back coach. I love him, but the Chicago Bears, this is not going to be their year. Although they are showing some flashes, they played well against New England the other night. But to get traded from that team to an Eagles team that's 6-0, they're leading in the NFL, and to add him to an already strong defense, strong defensive line unit. Those guys are going all in. They're trying to win it. They see and sense, smell blood in the water, and they're going after it, and it worked out for them. So I I see nothing wrong with this move from the Eagles. I think it makes them a better team. I think it strengthens their defense. It gives them better pass rush. It's going to help Darius Slay and those, Bradbury on the back end. They're going to probably make more plays. Those safeties, they're going to have more opportunities because of the pass rush that you're going to get. So I think that's a brilliant move by the Eagles to add somebody like a Robert Quinn. When you talk about a pass rusher, he's somebody that you can just place in there the first game and he can be ready to go, right? When you start getting receivers or, different type of skill guys, it takes them a little while to learn the scheme, learn all the different things that they have to do to be on the same page. But a pass rusher, you just put him out there and you're going. Yeah, you may have to learn. He probably understands the stunts and this and that, right? He knows that stuff. He's been doing it for a long time. So you just put him out there and let him go to work. So I think he's going to fit in perfectly with those guys. He's been an outside guy in Chicago, so I don't think the weather is going to bother him when it gets cold in Philly. So I think it's a brilliant move by the Eagles.
I agree. And it's always fun to see teams add to a strength because they've already got one of the best defensive lines in football, and just adding to it, making it better, making it even tougher to defend. Eagles really going on a run, and Kansas City's done something similar. Their wide receiver isn't necessarily a strength, but their passing game is, the explosive playmaking ability is. And so they trade a third and a sixth for Kadarius Toney, who was playing on the New York Giants, but had kind of fallen out of favor with the new staff. So Kansas City, they're adding to a strength on their offense, whereas the Packers, they're kind of calling around looking for a solution. They've been linked to Chase Claypool on the Steelers. They've been linked to Jerry Jeudy on the Broncos, Brandon Cooks on the Texans. So it's just interesting to see the differences of Kansas City adding to a strength, making their strength even better, versus Packers. They're looking to make a trade to save the team.
Right, and I think you're gonna see Green Bay do some things because, like I said, Aaron Rodgers is not getting any younger, so you can't waste many years. So when he don't have guys that consistently get open and make plays, catch the ball, they're gonna look to add guys. So they're gonna look for people like Chase Claypool, right? They're gonna look for Jerry Jeudy. They're gonna look for Brandon Cooks. They're gonna look for some of those guys that's playing on teams that's not doing so great right now that have favorable contract situations that may need some assets in the draft or different things. They're going to look for those situations to try to get somebody because they may feel like they have a few pieces that they could be okay, but they need somebody. And we know that they need some wide receivers. It's not a secret. So I wouldn't look to see them adding a D lineman to Green Bay. They're going to be adding somebody on the offense that they can help score points, help Aaron Rodgers out. So that's not surprising at all. But for Kansas City, hey, man, if we can get another target, Patrick Mahomes loves targets. We can get another guy that can make plays. You fall out of favor in one place, you get rejuvenated, you get to go to another, place, and you're getting to play on an explosive offense. You're getting to play with Patrick Mahomes and all those other guys. Who knows, man? He could be a great addition to that offense.
And for the Packers who are looking to add, life gets easier for them if the Broncos lose to the Jaguars in London, because there's been rumors leaked that if the Broncos lose to the Jaguars, then they will trade Bradley Chubb, the star edge rusher, before Tuesday. And you have to imagine that makes them more likely to trade away Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, both players that they've been getting call after call about from around the league.
Yeah, I think it's basically saying if we lose on Sunday to the Jacksonville Jaguars, that's what they're playing, right?
Yep.
Jaguars. Yeah, if we lose on Sunday to the Jaguars, the season's over, right? We're gonna be 2-6. We're not gonna catch Kansas City. It's gonna be over. So let's trade some of these guys, get some picks, and hopefully re-up for next year.
Especially when you gave all those picks away for Russell Wilson. You have to recoup some of those assets. Russ, who does plan to play 8-hour flight, apparently he worked out for 4 of the 8 hours on the flight, doing high knees on the plane while everyone else slept. Have you ever had a teammate like that? Because I think that would bother me trying to have a nap and I'm just getting high knees and butt kicks next to my head.
No, I never had anybody like that, but I don't think it bothers you because I mean you're on the plane. Those planes are huge, right? I
Okay.
mean, when you're flying to London, you're on one of those massive planes. I mean, you can be 2 rows up and you won't even know like what's going on behind you. You're asleep, like he didn't bother anybody. He probably had to tell them that he was doing high knees. They probably don't even know. So I don't think it's that big of a deal. I think it's, hey man, I'm trying to get myself ready to go. I got a hamstring. I got things going on, and I just sit down and get stiff on a 12-hour flight because it has to be at least 12 hours from Denver. I think it was about 8 or 9 for us from Detroit. So I'm sure it's a 10 to 11 from Denver. So it's a long flight. Get moving, get some stuff going. Like I don't have anything. I mean, if it helps him and he's ready to play, because we can say what we want about Russ. I mean, he's gonna give you the best chance to win, whether he's playing great or not. He's probably gonna give you the best chance to win. So if
I
that's what
think
you got to do, Russ. Get it going.
I think putting into context the size of the plane, because I'm thinking just, a regular, how small regular flights the
Yeah,
pathway
no,
is.
no, no,
That's what I'm
no,
picturing. And it's
no.
like, oh, that would bother me. But no, if
You
it if
got to
it's
picture something else. You got to picture a bedroom. Those planes are
gotcha.
gigantic.
Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, you're not gonna notice. That just initial thoughts. It's ooh, that's strange, but
Yeah.
makes sense, makes sense. It all adds up. Final couple notes around the league. There's a lot of quarterback drama going on. Mac Jones is expected to start. Belichick hasn't announced it, but he's taking most of the reps in practice. Andy Dalton, the Saints have announced, will start. Jameis Winston is healthy-ish, but this isn't an injury related decision. This is a football related decision for Andy Dalton. Same with Matt Ryan being benched for second year quarterback Sam Ellinger, who was a 6th-round draft pick last year.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you start talking about quarterback controversy, you're obviously talking about teams that aren't playing very well. That's really what it boils down to. So you look at all these teams, the Patriots. I mean, going back to Mac Jones, that right there, I don't really understand it. It's privilege. I mean, it is what it is. He hasn't performed well, but he was your first round draft pick. Bailey Zappi was a guy that's been your backup, right? And on the outside, we may look at Bailey Zappi and feel a certain way, but on the inside, they may know, hey man, we can't do all the things that we want to do with Bailey Zappi that we can do with Mac Jones. The problem is you're not winning with Mac Jones. And what happened is we saw on Monday night, Mac Jones makes one interception and the whole stadium is calling for Bailey Zappi. Why? Because the fans want to be exciting. They want to win. So if Bailey Zappi is what we see as winning, then that's what we want, right? When you look at the Saints and Jameis Winston and Andy Dalton, like neither one of those guys are going to lead you to a Super Bowl. It just is what it is. Jameis Winston has had a problem turning the ball over his whole career, right? So, but Andy Dalton hasn't done anything really either. So I just think you just going what for what, like who's playing better today at the end of the day. I don't think neither one of those guys are super game breakers. And then Matt Ryan getting benched, you know, they haven't performed in Indy like they wanted, what they expected. I don't like Sam Ellinger though. I mean, jeez, you know what I'm saying? Like, but if they feel like he gives them a better chance, but I think this is probably one of those moves to Matt Ryan's gonna be a pro. He's gonna still work. He's gonna still continue to do the things he needs to do to prepare because he know even though I got benched, I'm one hard sack away from being back out there again. Right? This just is what it is. So it's not a situation where they're inactivating Matt Ryan and not cutting Matt Ryan. He's still going to be on the roster. So he's probably going to be dressed out as your backup quarterback. One hair trigger and Sam Mellinger's hurt and Matt Ryan's right back in the saddle. So this could be a situation where they just looking like, hey man, we're gonna go with Sam Mellinger. We're gonna set Matt down. Maybe that rejuvenates Matt. Maybe that gets him going. And then when he has to get inserted back into the lineup later in the season, because something will happen. It just is what it is. He'll be ready to go.
I found it so interesting that a team that's 3-3-1, only one game out of the AFC West, would make this switch so early. But then you start hearing what happened behind the scenes, where Jim Irsay called Frank Reich and Chris Ballard to his office for a closed door meeting. Next day, they announced Sam Ellinger as the starter, and some have started to believe there's incentive in Matt Ryan's contract or in the trade where if Matt Ryan plays a certain amount of snaps, then they have to give up a third instead of a fourth or something like that. So some think that might have something to do with it. Some think that Jim Irsay has told the coach and the GM, you guys are out no matter what. I want to see this kid play, so play him.
I mean,
Regardless,
all those
it's
things are possible.
yeah, it's a wild ride in the NFL right now across the board. Hopefully, it's a little bit less wild, a little bit more tame for the Detroit Lions, and we can just enjoy a nice, happy Sunday for once.
Hopefully. I hope. I'll be watching.
We'll be watching. We'll be keeping you up to date. Glover, before we get you out of here, do you have any pluggables to plug? Any final thoughts on the Lions, the NFL, or just the world in general?
Oh man, the world's a strange place right now, man. Hey man, stay safe. Happy holidays coming up. Halloween's coming up. Be safe out there. Protect yourself, protect your kids. You know, find something that you're passionate about, man. Stay off the internet, stay off of Instagram, stay off all these sites, man, and find something that you're passionate about and just pour into it and separate yourself from all these negative things and negative vibes that's getting put in the air and getting put into all these people's spirits and things like that, man. It's a strange times that we're living in. So be safe, protect yourself, have fun, enjoy the holidays, but be safe, man.
Be safe. Happy Halloween. Make sure you check out our sponsors over at betonline.ag. Make sure you give us a like, a rating, review, and you come back for our next episode to talk about the Miami Dolphins, hopefully losing to the Detroit Lions in Detroit. But until then, we will see you next time.
Peace.